Hello and welcome to another episode of Top Deck, the series where we take a look at some of the leading TCG deck lists. So this time we have Jonny's list, which took first place at a recent LLDS playing Gouki, and we can just run through the list first of all, and then we've got the usual siding strategy in the rounds he played, plus extra comments on the build itself. So we start off with Triple Super X, very standard at the moment, Triple Twist Cobra being the second best because you can make rank 3s with it, Double Octo, one Headbat and one Risk Scorpio. He hasn't bothered with a Bear Hug in here. Triple Junk Forward, Triple Gillosaurus, Double Dolphin, Double Marauding Captain, one Terratop, one Tekatamwog, Double Ash Blossom, Triple Ghost Ogre, one Ibly, Triple Instant Fusion, Triple Call by the Grave. He's playing the magical mid-breaker field in here as well, so he's got plenty of hand trap stopping cards with these 7, I believe, yeah. And then 2 Rematch, 1 Divine Sword, sorry, 1 Living Fossil, 1 Rotor, 1 Soul Charge, and 1 Monster Reborn to make it 43. I don't believe it changes your percentage of drawing into a combo too much with this kind of increase of 3 cards here anyway. For the extra, there's the Wicked Knight, Dragoness, the 1 Invoker, Gumblar, Firewall, Trigate, Unicorn, Phoenix, 2 Isolde, 1 Cerberus, Double Goblin, 1 Underclock, 1 Mermaid, and 1 Link Rebo. I think the only thing in here which you can potentially change, but you probably shouldn't, would be the second Isolde, which basically only ever comes up if people hit the first effect with an effect negator instead of the second effect. That's when it comes up normally. Everything else is necessary for the combo or for your extensions to get into the combo anyway. For the side deck, Triple Ghost Reaper, Triple Exchange, which is an interesting way to deal with hand traps, which doesn't allow your opponent to get an extra card, Triple Red Reboot, Triple Twisters, and Triple Godala as the kaiju to out problems. So moving on to the siding strategy then. So first off, we have he has the same siding strategy for all matchups when he's going first, no matter what. So when he's going first, he's always putting in the Triple Exchange and always taking out the Ghost Ogres, keeping in the 2 Ash anyway, just in case so he has a backup, plus it's monsters, so it enables you to carry on with your combo, and it's level 3 too. Then for going second, so against pure Sky Strikers, he's putting in the Twisters and the Godala. Forcing them to have a monster zone occupied is kind of important in this case. Taking out the Dolphins, the Ogre, and the Call by the Grave. Just sort of going second, these aren't that good. Ogre's kind of good because you can stop the multi-roll, but I guess he didn't think he needed it really because of the Gouki engine itself. For against Draco or Altergeist, when going second he's putting it in the Twisters and the Red Reboots. Again taking out the Dolphins, but this time taking out either the mid-breaker field, sorry, or the Ogres. Taking out a Gillosaurus and a Call by the Grave as well. For Gouki or Spiral, he's putting in the Cherries and the Godala, because you need to be able to deal with that board or stop the combo from going live. And he's taking out the Dolphins, mid-breaker fields, Gillosaurus, and Call by the Grave. So an interesting thing is Cherries you can use to hit a bunch of stuff, like the Unicorn is needed for a lot of the combos that they use. And that is it for the siding strategy. For the rounds that he played, round 1 he went up against True Draco and went 2-1. Round 2 against Crusadia he went 2-1. Round 3 against Cyber Dragon he went 2-0. Pretty interesting actually, that one. Round 4 against Pure Invoked he went 2-1. And round 5 against 60 card Zombie Lightspawn Plant he went 2-0. Then this event did have a top cut, so in top 4 he went against Noble Knights and went 2-0. That's pretty impressive, Noble Knights getting into top 4 here. And then in the final he went up against Sky Striker, the pure variant, and went 2-1, so won out the whole event going EXO all day, so that's really cool. So I did ask him a few questions about his list, and the event itself, so let's get into that. So first of all, I asked him how the event was overall. He said it was really great. Events at Eclectic Games seem to run efficiently, and the judges are really great too. Also, as a relatively new player, it was nice to have the opportunity to play against some players who topped at recent UK Nats, such as Alex Moffat, who we played against in round 1, so that was the Draco player there. Then why did he decide to play Gouki? He says it's the strongest deck of the format and the deck that he had the most practice with prior to the event, so that's why he went with it. Then looking at the list itself, so we can see he only ran 2 dolphins. Wanted to know if this was a space issue. He said it was kind of a space issue. He didn't want to go too many cards over 40. 43 was the lowest he could make work. Also, because dolphin uses your normal summon, he finds that 2 is kind of bricky. 2 is less bricky than 3. That's what he's found during testing anyway. He would consider cutting them all together because you can usually play through Ash and Droll for any reason. You can usually play through Ash, you can play through Droll with the right setup, and for whatever reason Droll isn't that popular at the moment anyway. And the same for Ash Blossom. He would play 3 Ash Blossom if he had it, but unfortunately he only had 2 for the event. Then he's accommodated 2 copies of Midbreaker Field within this deck. I wanted to know why he decided to main it for the LLDS. This was in Reading, by the way. We have seen it pop up in a few American deck profiles, so it's normally a side deck choice. He said that he felt Pure Striker was the most problematic for him because they can main a lot of hand traps, and Widow Anchor with 3 spells engraved really hurts you. And Midbreaker Field works wonders against all of those problems. He could only source 2 copies for the event, but he would probably main 3 in the future as it came in clutch several times throughout the day. So if you haven't become aware of this already, Midbreaker Field, a really good card to stop your opponent from negating your cards and stopping your pushes through the combo. Then he's got the exchange in the side. We don't see it that often, although it did come up in Euros a few times. He said once again most of his losses prior to the LLDS were due to hand traps. Exchange is another way to out hand traps or board breakers such as Sphere Mode. It's also pretty funny when you get to resolve it and see the confusion on your opponent's face. He'd probably replace it with more hand traps for a larger event, but he didn't expect many or really any mirror matches. And his biggest fear for the event was hand traps or pure strikers. Then why did he decide to play Godala over Sphere Mode or any other of the Kaiju? He says they're a bit more flexible in the Sphere Mode, and he thought that it would be a better option for rogue matchups. Also, they have more utility against Pure Striker to turn off the spell cards. He chose Godala because that's what he had at the time, although it could be any Kaiju. He's probably not, he's not sure if he'd play it at a larger event, to be honest. We can see here that the extra deck is obviously quite hard to make different. As I mentioned before, the second Isolde is kind of the only thing that you can change if you want to. Potentially the Gumbler as well is sometimes sided. But given all of the available options based on this extra deck, I wanted to know what typically he would make for his turn 1 boards or potentially game 2 or 3 boards. So in game 1, he said he'd normally go for the U board with Trigate unless he knew he was playing against someone with outs like Cyber Dragon. Against the Cyber Dragon player in this event, he resolved Aqua Dolphin twice and then used Gumblar in both turns in order to make his opponent discard all of the cards in his hand. And then in games 2 and 3, normally he would see that, if he could see that hand before, it would change how he committed to the board. But otherwise, he'd typically just go for the Gumblar for 4 combo. Then as for changes that he'd make to the list post the event, he probably would consider dropping the Dolphins that weren't that good for him for another Midbreaker Field and another Ash Blossom. Also, he may see if he can squeeze in Emergency Teleport. As mentioned earlier, he would side more hand traps for the mirror at larger events such as regionals in place of the exchanges. As for the hardest and the easiest matchups for this build, he says that he finds Pure Striker is the hardest because they can main up to 12 hand traps. If you can't kill them by turn 3, then you usually lose because they generate a lot of advantage. Cyber Dragons can be tough too, as they out your board easily. Altergeist and Floodgate decks can be annoying to go second against as well. And obviously easiest is anytime he gets to go first in game 1, and then in game 3 again. As for shoutouts that he wants to make, shoutouts to Eclectic Games in Reading for a smooth event, also to OG Games and Travelling Man York and the York lads for putting up with him playing such a degenerate deck for 3 months over. So congratulations to you, Jonny, a really awesome looking list. Great to see Gouki doing well, because a lot of the lists that we've had in previously haven't actually been following the Gouki trend. It is generally considered to be one of the most powerful decks of the format, but it looks like people are just sort of playing much more generic decks in order to deal with all of the rogues, so it's great to see Gouki coming in again and doing a spectacular job with it. Hopefully we'll see you again in the future. Thanks for watching this episode of Top Deck. If you have any comments or suggestions that you would like to make, leave them in the comment section down below. Check out the description for details of how you can get involved in this series. You can enter by voice interview, or instead you could just send all of your information over Facebook Messenger. Anything like that will be absolutely fine. If you want to see anything in particular from the upcoming series, then be sure to get in touch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.